listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
What's up, everyone, and welcome along to another episode of the Straight to Video podcast. And once again, we're keeping to a VHS related theme on today's show as we chat with one of the video community's OGs, head Videovore and editor-in-chief of the fantastic Lunchmeat VHS magazine and website, Josh Schafer. Lunchmeat landed on my radar around 10 years ago as my love for VHS was once again being rekindled thanks to the likes of the amazing documentary Adjust Your Tracking, which Josh was a producer of, and it was the same year that Straight to Video itself came to life as a music project after bubbling around as just an idea for a year or two, and lots of other things seem to be helping create a new life for this long dead format of entertainment. Since then, the whole VHS and video community has exploded. You see nods to it all the time in the mainstream, whether it be on TV shows like Stranger Things or memorabilia, clothing. There is such a demand for all things 80s and early 90s right now that it's a cert that VHS will be in there somewhere. What began as a small community of people looking or collecting strange and unusual forgotten films on this format has evolved into much, much more, and there's no end in sight for a long time as far as I can see. Josh and I chat all about this in our talk, so if you're still confused about the love of VHS, then maybe this chat will shed some light onto it. Today's episode of the Straight to Video podcast is, as ever, presented to you in association with our friends Affinity Photo. It's an incredible piece of photo editing software which I've been using for graphic design the past couple of years. It's used to create the podcast episode artwork you see each week, and it's an extremely affordable alternative to other programs on the market. So please check them out at affinity.serif.com. After our talk, if you want to learn more about Josh and Lunchmeat VHS, everything can be found at lunchmeatvhs.com. But right now, let's get into some VH speak with the man himself, Lunchmeat's Josh Schafer. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. How's things?
It's good. Everything's radical.
I'll take that. You already got me scouring the background to see what I can spot.
Oh, yeah, I got tons of shit in here. It's all over the place. Tons of VH shit everywhere.
Thanks for doing this for us, mate. I appreciate you dropping on this.
Oh, dude, my pleasure. Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's great to connect. I think we've been like Facebook friends for a long time, but never actually spoke.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, that's how the internet is, right? You feel like you've been friends with somebody forever, and you just never really talk to them with their voice or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll dive in, and we'll just see where we go. Take any left turns or go down any rabbit holes you want to go.
Let's do it. Let's press play.
We have a great mutual friend here in the UK, author Andrew Horn.
Oh, my God. I love Andrew, dude. He's the best.
You did the killer artwork for his book, VHS Ate My Brain, which came out, scarily, about 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. I remember designing that and being like, man, I hope he uses this. It'd be great, and came out great. And, a funny story about that is, I do a lot of different art, and my mom and dad bought me that book for Christmas that year. And I was like, oh, I did the cover art for this. They're like, you did? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And it was just so cool, man. It was awesome.
Have you guys spoken at all recently? Because he's working on like a revised edition.
I don't think recently. I think we bump into each other on the internet here and there, but he's always been super kind and super cool. And I think he's really intelligent. And
oh man, scary some of the stuff he knows.
Yeah, and really sweet too. Just a nice person. Definitely a bright spot in the past 10 years. He's a great guy.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like a lot started to happen in like the VHS community around that time. I'd slowly been getting back into collecting, and I started my Straight to Video project, which was initially a music project in 2013, which became the precursor to this podcast. But
right.
Also around that time, Adjust Your Tracking, the documentary which you produced, came out. There was the Rewind This documentary, and I think there was it the Videoland book as well? That all came out around that time. Thinking back to that time, could you feel a real surge in interest? Was you noticing anything then, or is it just how everything seemed to happen, do you think?
It's interesting thinking back 10 years. It's crazy. I feel like there was just a lot of people doing good work, to be honest with you, and a lot of people that were passionate about VHS culture, VHS format. And I mean, yeah, I wanted the resurgence to happen. That's why we were doing Lunchmeat, and I think that's why we made the documentaries, because, it's just a culture that we were a part of, and we were like, let's talk about it, let's share share it with people. And that's really what it was. I was doing a lot of events, going out and showing just like weird, obscure movies on VHS and doing tape swaps up in New York with my friend Matt Desiderio from Horror Boobs, and just doing stuff in Philly. And we were just doing it. We were just like in your old punk bands. You're like, I'm going to go do this thing. You don't really think about what's going to happen next, And I do remember thinking when the documentary came out, we're like, well, we just made a documentary and it's out now. And what's next? What do we do now? And then we just keep rolling, So it's great. It's fun.
How long had that documentary been in production before it was released?
Oh my God, dude, I don't even remember. My part in that was like mainly I couldn't go on the tour to interview everybody because I had like a day job that wouldn't allow me to do that. So I was on emails connecting, contacts and writing about stuff and writing plugs for it and connecting people for interviews and things like that. I don't know. I couldn't even really tell you like a year. I don't know. You'd have to ask Dan. He'd probably ask the same way. He's like, I don't know. But it's a little blurry because it was like 10 years ago, but like it was cool. It was cool.
To me, it's gone in a blink of an eye. But I mean, for me, that documentary, it really solidified things back then. I saw a screening of it in Birmingham, which is like an hour south of me. And we put on a screening of it in Nottingham. I arranged that with Dan back then. And I think that's where I actually met Andrew for the first time, to be honest. And through that film, I met and connected with a bunch of other like-minded people, much like a lot of the characters in the films itself.
Right.
Everyone in that film had their own style, quirks, and personality. It's a blast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it'll soon be the 10th anniversary of its release. Do you think there might be anything to mark that?
There is. Yeah. I don't want to reveal too much, but we're definitely doing something. It's exciting.
Oh, sweet.
It's something that, like you said, 10 years ago seems to be blink of an eye, but also a lot has changed in the VHS world, VHS culture, a tremendous amount. It's completely different. So it's time to revisit it and look at it again.
Yeah. Are most of the people in the documentary still around and collecting?
I mean, I'm around. Matt's still around, but things change. You know what I mean? I don't talk to some of those people anymore, and I still wish them all the best and love them all. And, the first person that comes to mind for me is Matt Carr, Putrid, because he's just such a character. I haven't talked to him in years and years. We used to hang out together at Cinema Wasteland and stuff. I mean, he's such a talented dude and such a character. I assume he still has his VHS tapes. I can't imagine that he doesn't. But yeah, I mean, it has expanded so much, the culture. And I think that's what you said, is that this first time you met a lot of people is through this. And I think that's what we wanted to do, is just be like, hey, we're into this. There's people that, are into this. And I think that showed a lot of people that there was a culture and there were other people that were into this.
Yeah. You kind of preempted what I was going to ask next, but what has changed since then? I actually rewatched it earlier.
Oh, did you?
And a lot of the stories, you hear stories from younger people or other people you're perhaps not familiar with, and the stories are still the same. The memories of the VHS shop and seeing all the tapes and stuff. But I guess everything's just on such a bigger scale now.
A tremendous scale, yeah. I mean, it's back in the general consciousness. And it wasn't back then. I mean, there was a core group of people that were, online, and there was like all the people that were just like kind of watching. And like I said, didn't know that people were into VHS tapes and like into this culture. Everything's changed. I mean, there's so many more people. There's so many more artists. There's so many labels and companies. And it's amazing. I mean, like it's become a viable thing again, all but viable, right? Because you don't see them in stores, but you do sometimes. And, I work with large properties and licensing some crazy stuff. Like I did the last Blockbuster. I mean, I think the last Blockbuster has a lot to do with rustling up that nostalgia. I think people just are looking back and being like, wow, this is really cool. And then of course you have all the grading stuff and all this, but it's exploded and it's mutated and it's kind of reticulated and it's everywhere.
Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. It's mutated.
Yeah.
It's growing its own legs and just going its own way. One of the things I noticed when the film came out, we were seeing all these huge collections of tapes for the first time and the video store basements. It was the first time we'd seen this stuff, and now they're cropping up on YouTube and TikTok videos all the time.
I mean, it's a trend now, right? Like, you see people making video stores in their basements because they miss video stores that much. They miss that feeling that much that they're willing to dedicate time, money, and whatever else it needs, and that desire to have it, just to have it in their house, just to have that feeling. Mm-hmm. I think it's beautiful. I also think it's crazy. I have an impromptu video store in my house. I don't have it all set up all fancy with like popcorn buckets and stuff, but I do have thousands of VHS tapes in my house. So, I mean, I think it's awesome. And the kind of passion and dedication in so many levels that it takes to do something like that is really impressive. And I think that helps show people how much interest is in this kind of stuff.
From when you were first renting films to then getting the chance to own your own copies, did you ever go through that phase of getting rid of your tapes to replace them with DVDs, then find find yourself hunting them down all over again, or did you never actually stop?
Never stopped collecting tapes. I mean, I was
straight through.
I was like a poor punk rocker 20-something, like just trying to watch weird movies. And, what do? You go to the flea market, you go to yard sales, and you find weird-ass movies for like a quarter. People treated VHS tapes like literal garbage. They're like, just please take the whole box for $5. I'm like, I don't want this whole box. I don't want all this. So, I mean, those are great memories because it is so different now. Like, it's very, very different. The whole landscape is completely different.
You're out in, is it Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeah, right now.
But originally from New Jersey?
Originally from Upper Deerfield, New Jersey. Lived in Philadelphia for quite a while. And then I moved here 5 years ago to create a video store for Alamo called Videovore.
Very cool. And was it your local video store was Video Vision?
Yes.
In Bridgeton, New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Describe that place for us if you can.
Wonderful place. Tons of video games. They had, this really awesome gumball machine in the front. You walk through and there was a little like jewelry store in front of it.
Where was it? Was it like on a strip mall thing?
It's not a strip mall, but it was near like a strip mall thing called Carl's Corner. There was a McDonald's and there was another little business section where there was 2 stores. Now it's a Little Caesars. They had a couple different locations, but the one I went to the most, you'd walk in, there was a little jewelry section. I remember that. And then you look to the right and there was all the video games and all the posters and then some stuff behind glass that was, I can't remember. I think it was like the video games because they were very expensive at the time. You know what I mean? So you had to like go behind glass with that stuff and go get them. And then you would walk back and the counter's on the left and then the horror section's on the right. You go back, it was comedy and there was all the new releases and you had drama and some other shit in the back corner I didn't know because I never went back there. I was just in the horror section. I just ran in and made a right. Pretty much what it was.
Do you recall any particular tapes or memories you have from that store that had a really big effect on you? Maybe waiting excitedly for a film to come out or renting something you'd never heard of? Is there anything that springs to mind?
Mausoleum.
Yeah?
Love Mausoleum. Yeah, I mean, Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in the M section. I always say this because they stick around. But Zombie, Slaves, Faces of Death. I remember distinctly watching Faces of Death with my dad. It was more like The Ritual is what I remember so specifically. Not it's like one bright, shining moment where you walk up and it's like, oh, and it's like the tape that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I think it's more like going to get some takeout food or going to the video store, grabbing like 3 tapes and a video game. And you're like, yes, my weekend is set. And then you go to McDonald's, you get pizza or something, or you get some subs, and you go home, and that's all you did all weekend. You hung out and watched tapes and played video games, and it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful time.
That's interesting. You say you use the term ritual, but that's pretty much what it was. And when I speak to people about it and get talking about it, it's almost like I was guilty of it as well. You don't realize how much time you spent in these places. But then DVD came around, it got more accessible to buy stuff. It was a lot cheaper to buy stuff, and everybody just dumped it. Everybody just got rid of video stores and VHS and forgot about it until something in today's world sparks it again, and it all comes flooding back, and it's like, shit, we spent a lot of time in those stores. It all kind of hits them all of a sudden once you reignite that memory for them again.
Yeah, it's very formative, right? It happened for us, around our age range and stuff. It was a formative time. My imagination and, all that kind of stuff and my tastes and the way I explore things, the way I think about things are all influenced by like those movies at that time. And because it was on cable, you go to the video store every weekend. Like I said, ritualistically, you're just like, what do you want to do this weekend, Josh? Like, I want to go to the video store and get tapes. You know what I mean? I remember this. I'm very in touch with all that. I mean, obviously, I never stopped. I talk about like watching videos and playing video games over the weekend. Like I'm 38 years old and I still like on my weekends, I watch VHS tapes and get pizza and play Madden 94, So, I mean, like my idea of fun is still the same as from when I was 12. It's ridiculous.
Do you remember the first film you actually owned yourself?
Yeah, Wayne's World and Addams Family. Yeah, I bought those with my allowance money from the McDonald's deal. I don't know if you would have it over there, but here in the U.S., there was a deal for a long time with McDonald's. You bought like a Big Mac and some fries, you could get particular videos for like $5 or some really small amount of money. And they did that with Field of Dreams and Five Will Goes West and a couple other things. But I got Wayne's World and Addams Family.
You still got them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I do. In the U.S., you can tell when they're from McDonald's because it has the McDonald's logo on the back of it.
Are they all graded now? It will be soon.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole conversation.
You got the chance to clear out that video store, I believe, when it closed down. You were living away from the area, but road tripped back to see what you could save.
I wish I could have cleared it out. It was kind of expensive, man. I was like 23 and, I didn't have a lot of money. But my mom called me and she was like, hey, Videovision is closing. I was like, this is such a bummer. And she was like, yeah, but they're selling all their stuff. And I'm like, whoa. And I lived in Philly at the time, so I just dropped everything and drove back to Jersey. And I was like, I'm going to Videovision. You know what I mean? And I got some really great tapes, and I still have all those, and I've written about that and photographed it and talked about it in print. It's great. I got Eaten Alive, Zombie Nightmare.
The actual ones you rented as well, probably.
Yes, the ones that I rented and went through my community and things like that, and they're still kicking, still working. You got to imagine how many different places those tapes went, how many times I rented them, and so on and so.
Have you had any other good tip-offs to different VHS hauls which have proven a success?
I used to hunt in New York all the time with Matt, and that was really fun. You'd steal like 10 sealed copies of The Jar just sitting there, or 20 or 30 or something. It's crazy because we would go into these porno shops, and there was some rule in New York. You had to have 20% non-adult stock or something, so they would just buy videos and they would just have them. But digging through New York was great. We went to Bayware Video when they were closing. That was incredible. I think there's an actual really old video on our YouTube from that. There's been a lot over the years. I just love digging, man. I love digging through tapes.
It's that what if? What's going to be there? It's that excitement.
Oh, yeah. It's the thrill of the hunt.
This is going to be the one. This is going to be the one.
You just never know what you're going to find. You know what I mean? And it's very different now. Like I said, the landscape is different since it's gotten much more popular, much more people are in the know, and there's all kinds of things like that. But you can walk into a junk shop in Pennsylvania in like 2005, 2006, walk in there and find really great stuff. You can still find great stuff. I know someone who found a copy of Sleepaway Camp for $quarter at some like Christian place, like, I don't know, like 6 months ago. And I'm like, this is impossible. Like, you don't even believe it. You're like, did you really find that there? It is. It was thrilling, and you got to get new movies to watch because you're not thinking about how much is this worth. I think a lot of people not a lot, but I'm seeing people that collect VHS and their immediate question is not how is this movie or like who made this movie or do you guys know this label? It's like, how much is this worth?
It's a VHS tape. It's not worth shit.
It's worth a watch. That's what it's worth.
I like that.
And I have a lot of people that come to me through private messenger and they're like, I don't mind either. I think it's fine, but they're like, hey man, I think you might be the one to know. And how much is this worth? And I try to help them out. I usually give them the answer is just, I don't know, man, go on eBay and look at completed listings because that's really where you're probably going to sell it unless you want to go to the boards on Facebook and stuff like that or other avenues on Discord and things like that. And I don't know, man, I'm happy that I got all my tapes when I was much younger because I got a lot of great stuff. Who would have known that it would have been like a kind of investment? I got a copy of Microwave Massacre for $1 with dust on it at an old news agency that also used to rent tapes. And my old pop punk band used to play this VFW. And I got there early one time meeting a friend. And I was like, I'm going to kill some time. So I went into this news agency, which is like a place, I don't know if you have those there, but they just like sell newspapers, magazines, cigarettes, and, snacks and stuff like that. But they also used to rent tapes. It was like in 2002, probably 2003, around that time. And they were just selling all their tapes for $1. And I was like, yo, Microwave Massacre, big box for $1 is like the coolest thing in the world. And I think that's one of the moments where I was like, I just want all this shit. Because I think I was like 17, 18 at the time. Because I always had tapes to watch them. But then I was just like, oh man, I can get all these cool, rad looking tapes with weird movies on it. Because me and my dad used to watch Microwave Massacre all the time too. We used to rent that all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I need this. And I was like, you know what? I want to start collecting these. I need more of these in my life. And then I just became obsessed.
Because Lunchmeat VHS began in 2008 as, I believe, an idea between you and your friend Ted Gilbert was you working at Relapse Records? Is that a music store in Philadelphia?
It was a music store in Philly, but it's more of a label.
Okay, cool. What was you doing there?
Mail order. I was working in the mail order.
Yeah?
Yeah, so, picking packages and wrapping up incantation CDs and, mortician shirts and stuff. Then I worked there for about 7 years doing all the mail order customer service and stuff. So if anybody out there ordered from Relapse Records from like 2006 to like 2010 or 11 or something, you probably talk to me for customer service.
I guess that's a big part of your life as well then, playing in bands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did that for a while. I worked for the label for a while and played in a bunch of weird bands, death metal bands and punk bands and stuff.
What were your first steps with Lunchmeat? Did it take a while for you to get that first issue of the print magazine out into the world?
Oh my God. Yeah. We didn't know what the hell we were doing at all. Like me and Ted, we started writing for Resound, which was the Relapse resource catalog. We were just writing articles because we got them to start to carry, I was like, yo, you guys should carry like horror DVDs and horror stuff, like horror movies, because you probably sell them. Because we could get them from the same distributors that we got certain CDs, right? We're like, all right, let's try it. And so we started writing about it in the resource catalog so people knew that we were carrying them. And I guess that was kind of the start of it. And then we were like, hey, we want to do our own print thing. And then our friend John Kennedy, who's a wonderful guy and great artist, he's a noise artist and experimental artist, he helped us put together the first issue. We wrote a bunch of stuff and he's like, all right, walk to Wawa, which is a store that's like, it's like a 15-minute walk away, and then come back and I'll try to put something together and I'll show you what I can do for you. And we're like, okay, great. And we're just like so stoked walking to Wawa. We're like, we're going to have a zine. It's going to be awesome. So a huge shout out to John Kennedy. I mean, it wouldn't have started without him, and it just kept growing from there. I mean, the first few issues came out really quickly, and then life happened, and Lunchmeat was just a hobby, something I did on the side, and Ted moved to Europe for a little while, and, he was busy over there, and we lost touch a little bit. He had a kid, and then I kept doing the zine and just doing the Lunchmeat thing as a hobby, and he came back and like we were full strength again, and we just kept growing and growing and growing. And I mean, this is over like 15, 16 years.
During that like initial issue, how in touch was you with the larger VHS community outside your initial area? Was there already groups online through social media then, or any forums?
I don't really remember anything like that. I mean, I would go on CritCon online, Critical Condition, and just look at that website a bunch. I mean, I remember going on eBay in my little efficiency apartment and like looking at a copy of Video Violence and being like, $23 for a VHS tape? This is insane. It was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? It was very different then. But I knew people that were into horror movies and had VHS tapes, right? But I don't think there was like a culture per se. And what we noticed, the reason Ted and I did it, and even the first issue was like not, completely refined, right? But we just reviewed VHS tapes that we couldn't find on DVD, because everybody's talking about in 2000 and what was it, 5, 6, 7, 8, around there. Like everybody's just talking about like new DVD releases, right? Like the Blue Undergrounds and all that kind of stuff. There was so many cool, weird movies that were only on tape. And we're like, we should talk about this because nobody's really talking about it, And we just did a zine. We had no idea if people would receive it. We had no idea.
How many copies did you do of that first issue?
Oh my God, you're quizzing me. I think 200. I remember I almost got fired that day too, because like we were so excited and we printed it in Center City, Philly, and we got the call like, hey, your books are done. And we were like, okay, we have to go right now and get them. And like, I just leave my job and like go down and we go get them.
Where's Josh?
Yeah, exactly. I walk back in with this box, right? I'm so stoked. And my boss is like, where have you been? And I was like, I went to go pick up my new zine. He's like, well, there's stuff to do, dude. You can't just leave. And I'm just like,
but look at it.
And I was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, it was amazing. But my boss was really cool. He let me slide that day because he knew he was also a producer. He had his own label and he was in some pretty big bands. And I think he knew how excited I was,
He could see it in the eyes.
Yeah. He was pissed. But I mean, he let me slide that day. So thanks to Greg. Yeah.
The magazine grew into the Lunchmeat website in 2011, which it boasts some amazing merch, mate. But you keep everything up there. Everything's still up there, even though it still says sold out. You like teasing us most of the time.
Well, we like to keep it up there because we like to see if people want it.
Right. That's what I'm going to say. Any plans to reissue any old shirts, or is it you just wait for the demand?
Yeah, I mean, we look at licenses and we look at how it sold the first time and how people ask about stuff. That's the thing is if you click the notify me when available, that's really why we keep it up there, and also to show people what we do. But I mean, we love to bring stuff back in print. So, I mean, some stuff is not available and some stuff is. And, that's why we do it. Give it another platform and keep VHS tapes coming out and rolling and get people excited about it. Watch tapes. Because
you started releasing your own video releases, they've been hugely popular. Was it tough tracking down places that actually still duplicated VHS or produced them?
Yeah, it's always tough.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's tough. That's another thing. There's trade secrets in this thing now, man. You know what I mean? Like there really are. And it's like where you get colored stock and where you get stock, how you do something, how duplication works.
Yeah.
How do you make a slipcase, a professional slipcase? But people figured it out, man. I mean, not everybody knows, but like you just put a tape in and you get a source, you press play on the source, you press record on the tape and it records it. I mean, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But doing it on a more massive scale and finding the right print resources, getting a quality duplication and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work.
You've worked alongside some previous guests on this show, such as Lisa Downs on the Life After the Navigator documentary.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Lisa.
Taylor Morden from the last Blockbuster.
Oh, Taylor. Love Taylor.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Are there any personal favorite releases of yours or anything that is something you'd love to release, but it's so far not been possible, like tracking down licenses or anything like that?
Oh, there are so many, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, doing the Video Violence Die Hard Videovore edition was a dream come true. And that was really cool because I love that movie and I got to meet Gary and all that kind of stuff. And it was a wonder to work with that. And I felt very honored to work with that. It was really cool. America's Deadliest Home Video. I think it's the ones where I create friendships with filmmakers. that I admire. I think that's cool. And artists, we work with a lot of independent artists. We license stuff from studios too, but I think licensing from independent artists is my favorite, for obvious reasons. And you make friends and you get to like help indie artists trying to make a cool movie, like give them a platform, and give them a product to sell and, just kind of get it out there more and get people excited about it by making a cool looking package for it. But there's tons of favorites. I don't like to single stuff out, but I mean, like, I think Video Violence is just a favorite movie of mine. America's Deadliest really was another favorite of mine. Creep Tales. I love doing Creep Tales. That was really, really exciting for me. We just did Filmage, Descendants documentary. Descendants are one of my favorite bands, and that was really special to me. There's a lot. I was just like going off the list.
How did the Life After the Navigator one? How did you bring that one to life? Did Lisa reach out to you? Or?
I can't remember who reached out to who, but I thought it was a great fit, and she was into it. I think we had like a phone call or two and a rash of emails, and we did it.
It's a wonderful documentary, that is. It's great.
Really is. I think all of her work is. I think all of her work is suitable for VHS, and I'd love to work with her again. I don't know if she wants to, but I think those documentaries are made for VHS. Not necessarily made for it, but they fit really well.
What does the future for Lunchmeat hold? I mean, because you had the book stuck on VHS and have since released like supplemental editions. Unreal to think that you can have like an entire book based on stickers from VHS tapes, but you did, and it continues to grow. What else is in the pipeline? Have you got anything you can let us know about?
Everything. Everything. I mean, new issue of Lunchmeat magazine is coming out very soon. We'll have another edition of Video Store Still Exists coming out within 10 to 12 more stores. And we'll have an international edition coming after that because we want to champion that video stores are still around, of course. And for Stuck on VHS, we're working on an expanded edition right now because it is out of print. We're going to put it back print with some exciting stuff. We're going to be doing a Kickstarter here in the spring. And there's going to be a lot of cool stuff available that we're like working up right now and like thinking about how we want to do it and everything. So, I mean, that's the thing is you say you can't believe there's a whole book. I mean, I can't believe that somebody didn't do it before I did. I mean, there is so much culture hidden in those stickers, man. I'm talking like aesthetic culture, like people culture. Like, I think this is how I try to like encapsulate it is that some of those stickers are the only remnant of a store. Like there's no pictures. You know what I mean? Like the only remnants are those stickers on that VHS tape where it's like Dougie P's video, you know what I mean? In Orlando. It was only open for like, 2 years. But you're like, no, this place actually existed. And it's right here. It was where this World Gym is now.
So cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's important. And also just, I like telling those stories. Even if it can't be a full story. We're reminding people that this was a thing, this was a part of our culture, and it was very big, very big.
Are there any existing stores or places still on your bucket list to try and go visit in America?
Scarecrow. I haven't been to Scarecrow yet, man. I'm really bummed about that.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I got to go to Scarecrow. I've been to a lot of them. Videotech. I'd like to go see Videotech and see Luce. She rocks. Got to see Movie Madness. I want to go there. There's a lot of great places out there. And there's a lot of stores still out there just, because everybody thinks video stores are totally dead. There's a lot of really vibrant places and, they're finding ways to survive. We just got an email back for the second one where I don't really want to spoil it, but I mean, it might be a way for video stores to actually still exist. But Narrow Video was inherited by, I think, Old Dominion. I don't know. You can't quote me on this, but it was inherited by a college. And they house it like a library and you can rent it. So it's essentially this video store moved into a college, like an institution. And now it's like protected. That's something that's really amazing to think about is like, you really want to protect a video store? Put it into a college. You know what I mean? Then it is actually like a legit ass resource, not just like somebody's business that's super resourceful.
It's interesting what you're saying about video stores still surviving. I mean, like places like I Love Video and Vulcan Video in Austin, they both closed in 2020. I wonder if they've been able to like just ride things out for another year or so. They might have flourished from this continued interest now the world's kind of got back to some normality. I don't know if that would have been a thing.
You would hope so. You would like to think so. I think there is some sort of gap between online cheerleading and actual patronage when it comes to video stores. And I don't mean that in like a negative or derogatory way. I just mean that like people like the idea of video stores, but the actually going out and supporting a video store, like would you drive 45 minutes to go rent 2 videos and then drive 45 minutes home and then watch these videos and then take them back? In a world of convenience, it kind of like it's different. But to be honest with you, man, I moved here to open a video store that used to be La Video in San Francisco, right? That was a huge influential video store. They closed. Tim from Alamo bought the collection and then brought it to Raleigh. And then me and a team of people cleaned it, which was a nightmare, cleaning them because they were in storage for years. Curating it because it was all just chunked in boxes. No rhyme or reason. They were just pulling it off the shelf, putting it in boxes when they bought it. And then we put it out and we had like, 70,000 titles for rent there. Like, I was there to get people interested in it. They call me the VHS culture captain is the title they gave me, believe it or not. And it's hilarious looking back. I should have known.
So what happened with Video Vortex? Did the pandemic kind of screw it all up? Or like going back what you'd say, like actually getting people out there, it seemed harder?
People came in there to watch movies because it was at an Alamo. And it's a bar. So like people would come in, watch their movie, get some food, drink, and then they'd rent some videos because the video rentals were free. You get 2 for free, and then I think it was like $3, the additional one, right? So no, it was working. It was a way to bring people into the store. And that was really great. And then the pandemic ruined a lot of things. Of course, when the pandemic happened, we had to close, and they did not ask me to come back. Yeah.
They give you a chance to realign your focus back onto Lunchmeat and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you want to put it nicely, I guess. Yeah, for sure. And it really did. In the pandemic, everything changed for a lot of people. And
oh, God, yeah.
Everybody had a lot of time on their hands. And I was just like, you know what? Like I said, Lunchmeat was always a hobby. And I was offered distribution. That changed everything. Redid the website. And it's been a dream. It's amazing to do something you really care about. It's difficult to run your own business, but it's incredibly rewarding because you're doing something you care about.
Sweet, man. So kind of to close, Josh, you have the Lunchmeat slogan, which has been around for ages. VHS is happiness. I'll put you on the spot. What does that mean to you today?
I mean, it means that just VHS makes me happy. I don't know. I mean, like if you're having a bad day or something, like I come into my tape room and these tapes give me like power. They make me feel better. Like I like going through the tapes. I like sticking stuff in and watching it. I like just chilling out. On the weekends, like, look, I know that I'm probably not going to find anything. Probably not. I even drive like 2 hours still. It's hard to find stuff. You know what I mean? Like out in the sticks. But just rummaging through old VHS tapes on a shelf in some like weird store, it makes me happy. And connecting with people like you and talking about this culture and talking about why we do it and what makes us so interested in it, that makes me happy. So I think when I say like VHS is happiness, I think it encompasses everything that the format and the culture does for me and other people.
It's awesome, man. Awesome. Have many UK tapes made their way into your collection?
I have 2.
Yeah?
I got 2 pals. Now, do you say pal or do you say PAL?
I say pal. I don't hear many people say PAL.
Yeah, my buddy says PAL, and I'm like, I think they just say pal.
Yeah, pal tapes, yeah. But we don't use that term very often, to be honest.
Yeah, because I don't go around calling things NTSC tapes. I have 2. I have Return of the Living Dead on Vestron International.
Oh, nice, with the Graham Humphreys artwork.
Yeah, oh my God, that's gotta have that. Return of the Living Dead's one of my favorite movies. And then, I have 3. I have Satan's Dog, and then I have Killer Party. I just love the artwork. And I think I bought Killer Party on accident one time. I think I was just like really partied out at a Cinema Wasteland, and I was going through tapes in a room, and he was like, "Do you want this? It's PAL." I was like, "I don't care." And he's like, "All right." That's why I have that one.
Can do some damage with those UKX rental boxes.
Dude, yes. They are super hard plastic. I mean, you can do damage with any. I mean, you can kill somebody with a VHS tape. You ever see that little piece of, I don't know what it is, but it's a self-defense thing on how to use a VHS tape as a piece of self-defense?
No, but I need to see it.
I gotta find it now and post it because I remember seeing it like 10 years ago or something, but it's just like a picture of a book or something, and it's like how to use a VHS tape as a self-defense weapon.
Oh my God, I gotta find that.
Self-defense, man.
Sweet. Have you ever been over to the UK, Josh?
I have not. I have not been to the country, man. I'm not well-traveled.
Me, you, and Andrew can go like hunting over here. We'll do it.
That'd be a dream, dude. It'd be awesome, man. I would love that. It'd be so cool. So cool.
Sweet. Josh, I'll let you go, but thank you for chatting with me. I've loved it.
It was wonderful, man. Thank you so much.
Massive love and respect to Josh Schafer for chatting to me on today's Straight to Video podcast. Everything he does over at Lunchmeat is top drawer, and his vibe and attitude towards all things VHS is awesome. So it's an honor to have him on this show. Be sure to check out lunchmeatvhs.com to see all the cool stuff they do, not only on the website but with the magazine too, and I'm excited to see where Josh and his crew can take things next. Meanwhile, things are ongoing over here with our own 80s video shop just 10 minutes from junction 28 of the M1 here in the UK. Right now we're just doing it appointment only, but we're super flexible, so if you want to visit, drop me a line and we'll get that hooked up for you. There's a bunch of other cool events we're working on too, so keep up to date over at www.80svideoshop.co.uk and all over social media simply at 80s Video Shop. That is all for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back with another chat next Friday. So till then, take care and speak soon.